And now it's time to welcome our first guest today in a segment we call Bark in the Park. Michelle Stern is a licensed family dog mediator. She is a certified dog behavior counselor, a fear free training professional, and a dog foster mom. Michelle joins us from San Francisco live today. She is the founder of Pooch Parenting. And Michelle, we so appreciate you making time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, to begin, tell us about when your love for dogs first came about.
I feel like I was born with it, actually. I have always loved animals and I wanted to be a veterinarian until I took organic chemistry, which weeded me out. It weeds out a lot of people,
Sure
apparently.
does.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
ended up still studying biology. I ended up teaching high school biology, raising some kids, rerouted, taught some cooking classes for kids, founded a cooking school for them. And then re I don't know, got acquainted again with my mentor from childhood and took a bunch of classes with her and rekindled my passion for dogs. And the rest is history from there.
And that is incredible. You know, you sound like a Renaissance woman. I love all of these things. We've got the cooking, we've got the kids, and then you transitioned to from teaching children into working with dogs. So, how did all of that happen? I'm sure it was a bit of a road and a journey.
Yeah, it was. Dogs have always been a passion of mine. And it was pretty interesting because I taught high school, I ran a cooking school for kids, I raised my own kids. And I realized when I started learning about dogs again through my mentor that children and dogs are a lot like cooking with kids and knives and dogs. because,
Tell me more.
because
I love this.
puppies are unpredictable. They have sharp teeth. And when we have families that are raising kids and puppies at the same time, things can feel really chaotic and unpredictable. Just as it kind of did when I would hand a toddler a little knife to use when we were cooking or we were using a hot plate. We had to set really clear boundaries and let the kids know what they could do versus what they couldn't do. And when I was learning about dog behavior again, what I realized was, you know what? I would really be able to serve families so well if I can combine all the things that I truly, truly love, which is supporting parents, educating their families, educating their kids. And at the end of the day, if we can all learn to live in harmony with our children and dogs, then we're going to keep more dogs out of shelters. And we're also going to prevent bites to children as well.
I love that. And there's just so much for all of us to learn from having a dog in the home. It's so good and enriching for our lives and for children to grow up with a loving companion. I mean, I know for my family, our dog Louie Bear is like literally just takes the stress level from here to here with our kids when they cuddle up, and there's just so much love. So I love how you dedicated your life to improving and enriching the relationship between dogs and their families. It's amazing. So you mentioned though, Michelle, your mentor, and can you tell us about who has made the most profound impact maybe on you and your career and the main takeaways from that relationship?
Yeah, definitely. So I learned a lot from a woman named Trish King, who was actually in charge of the behavior department at the animal shelter where I volunteered when I was a teenager. And she was a legend. She had a no nonsense approach. She also had a lot of kindness and empathy with her approach to helping people and sharing the reality, the honest reality of perhaps a dog's prognosis. And so when I was learning from her, I just was so thrilled to be able to absorb some of that empathy. But I have also learned from a lot of other people in the industry. Mike Shikashio is another person who's amazing. He specializes in aggression and reactivity, and he's remarkable. I often find myself thinking, what would Mike do in this situation? Because he's
There you go.
so great. And then also another woman named Kim Brophy, who really has taken animal behavior and flipped it on its head to really look at the whole animal, what actually contributes to behavior. And it turns out that it's not just puppies aren't made of clay, so you can't just raise them differently and have them come out the way you want them to. Genetics is a huge component, physical health, etc., personality, their learning history. and more. But we really need to help people understand all of those components, because you can't just take any dog and make it work in any circumstance. It's like a square peg in a round hole.
Oh, absolutely. It makes total sense. And two, figuring out, you know, ourselves. We need to look internally and we need to look externally at the dog, right? Like they can sense when something is really off in us or if we're not really all in. I love how you give families coping tools. Like the more we have in our toolbox, the better. It is awesome. So I know in particular you have one focus and you have many areas of expertise, but in helping families who are expecting a baby, to make the best transition possible, bringing home their child. So preparing the pet and preparing the household. So just kind of walk us through what that whole approach is like for you when you come alongside families.
Oh, this is one of my favorite things to do with a family is when they reach out to me when they're either adopting or expecting a baby and they realize that their dog was their first baby and that they better prepare the dog for this huge transition. Because a lot of people don't actually realize that the dog may struggle when they bring home their baby. And so what is remarkable is when I can sort of get my hands on them virtually, because I see all my clients online. But when we can work together to set them up and help them to make their dog a little bit more flexible in terms of how their schedule is. So what I mean by that is a dog might be really used to getting dinner, let's say at 5 p.m. on the dot. And if you have an exploded diaper or a baby who's fussy, you can't necessarily attend to your dog's needs at that exact schedule. But a lot of people don't practice shifting things around, maybe reducing the amount of attention a dog gets, because certainly that will happen once baby shows up. So we have a whole variety of things that we can do to help families to work with their dog, to try to limit jealousy even once baby shows up, and then also to implement a variety of safety strategies in the actual house to prevent anything unexpected from happening.
I mean, dogs have opinions like people have opinions, right? Just like a family would think about, oh, okay, I need to make sure that this transition, adding another child to the family works. We need to think about that for our dogs too, because jealousy is an issue. I mean, is that one of the primary problems that you see as families make this transition?
Yeah, I think that some people just wear rose-colored glasses and they hope for the best. Maybe their childhood dog was great, and so they figured, we grew up with our dog and everything was fine and I had nothing to worry about. So I'm sure my dog is great, my dog is well trained, and I won't have any problems. But in reality, what I'm seeing these days is that a lot of dogs do really struggle. Jealousy is one piece of it, but we have a lot of dogs that are really anxious or that have physical pain or have an unpredictable, a history that we're not really sure, what was going on. And so all of these different sets of circumstances can impact any family in a variety of ways. And there isn't really a cookie cutter approach necessarily. But jealousy is certainly one piece of it. Safety is really huge. Like some people, if you're sleeping with your dog in your bed, which is fine. I sleep with my dog in my bed, but then you can't actually also have your newborn there as well, because if you're asleep, you're unable to supervise your dog and your baby
Right.
in the same situation. And unfortunately, there have been some fatalities because people
Oh,
didn't know what they didn't know. And I
what
really want to
tragedies.
help prevent any tragedies like that with my
Of
clients.
course. How much do you, or how soon do you recommend that your clients kind of turn back the clock and say, okay, if we're going to start this new bedtime routine, I mean, how long does it take a dog to adapt to a new routine?
I love that question. I hate the answer that I'm about to give you because you're going to roll your eyes and be like, oh, Michelle. But the answer is it depends, right? It
Okay,
depends.
sure.
So the reason I say this is that every dog is different. We have some dogs who have a panic disorder called separation anxiety. Those dogs may have a really, really difficult time separating from the family, in which case we need to be flexible and we need to come up perhaps with a different strategy. So in a dog that really emotionally cannot tolerate being separated from the family, then maybe what we do is we ease them off the bed, and maybe they're in a dog bed on the floor that has a pen around it so the dog can't get to the sleeping baby. Or maybe we work on crating the dog at night so the dog can't get to the baby. But we can be flexible, and I love to work outside the box to meet the needs of the individual clients and the individual dog. But honestly, as soon as you find out that you're expecting, or if you're adopting a child that you are matched with a baby, I think it's never too soon to begin this process, because honestly, if people wait until the last minute and we make these big changes once baby is here, then the risk is that the dog associates this big change with the baby. And
Yes,
then we have some trouble with these positive associations we're trying to accomplish, right? So if we
makes
can
sense.
change the routine and change the whole system before baby's in the picture, then the dog isn't really going to put two and two together and figure out, oh, it's because of this new little human that all this change is happening.
Really good tips. You're right, because that can foster a sense of resentment and frustration in the dog. And then here, mom and dad, or the parents have a new baby, and that can be at times stressful. So, whatever
Yes.
we can do to minimize that stress is so helpful. And I love some of those strategies that you shared. Now, I think, Michelle, that most of us, when we go into a relationship with a new pet, we want to see it be successful. We're all in, we're committed, and we are all for that. But are there ever times where you think, okay, or help us to understand where a dog mom might have to come to terms with the fact that perhaps this dog's temperament is not a good fit in the home, or this breed is not best for this situation? Life and seasons can change. So what is your advice there?
Oh,
So hard.
it's such an emotional situation,
Yes.
because people, I mean, moms, I mean, we have
Yes.
guilt. We have guilt coming out the wazoo, right? It's just, we criticize ourselves about, are we good enough? And do we know enough? And did we make good choices? And for many of us, we had our dogs, they were our first babies, right? Our fur babies,
Right.
or whatever you want to call them. But, we had our dogs before we had kids. And so we love them. But if we have a dog that's really anxious or that has a bite history, we really have to think about whether or not that dog can feel happy and safe in an environment that has now become much more chaotic. Because even though we don't like to think of our dog or of our babies as adding chaos, they do. I mean, we need
They
to be
do.
really honest about that. They
Yes.
change everything.
Huge
Um,
learning curve. Yes.
Exactly. And so we really need to think about the emotional well-being of us as the main caregiver of everybody in the family. If we're really stressed out because we're so worried all the time that our dog might hurt the baby, or our dog is just such a nervous wreck, or pacing or panting, or otherwise impaired by this whole new circumstance, then we're going to just feel bad all the time. And so we need to consider, would the dog be better suited in a different kind of home, maybe that didn't have children? Additionally, if there's a really big safety risk, we need to be really honest
Right.
about that. And, I have to say that a lot of my clients really, they cry with me, and we talk about that. I apologize if you hear my puppy. She's
No, I
protesting that
love
she's
it.
not included in this interview.
This is Dog Mom News Live, and that is real
Sorry.
life. No problem. Louie Bear might want to get in on this in a minute too, so we might have a bark off.
Oh,
I don't know, Michelle.
I'm so sorry.
Oh
Yes,
no, we
I
we are
always like
dog friendly
real.
here, obviously. We love it,
Well,
Michelle. And I love
I
that
like
you're a
to keep
dog
it real.
mom. You're not just training families with dogs, you're living the dog life yourself. So that gives you perspective,
It
as
certainly
someone
does.
that loves animals and people. So that is awesome. Now, do you want to share any more techniques with us that you use in your training that could be helpful for us as dog moms to learn from you?
Yes. I mean, one thing that I think is really important is that we use strategies that are all positive reinforcement based. And so, again, we're trying so hard to build strong relationships. And the best way we can do that is to reward behavior that we want to see repeated, as opposed to punishing behavior that we don't like. Because the dog doesn't necessarily understand what the punishment comes from. And frankly, science has proven that punishment is not an effective. I mean, it'll get behavior to stop in the moment because the dog is scared of you. But when we have a family where we're growing and we have a baby, we're vulnerable, we want all positive interactions to happen.
Sure.
And we want things to be pleasant around the child and the dog. So really that's one of my biggest focuses, is really to just strengthen relationships. But I think that our dog moms need to kind of understand that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And social media can really mislead people into thinking that everybody else's dog and baby or dog and child relationship is perfect because that's all they show online. But in reality, a lot of times people are showing things that are dangerous, that are maybe not so safe because they want things to look good to the public. And I wish that we could normalize like the reality, like the fact that I'm a dog behavior consultant and my puppy's crying, and that's okay because she's not panicking and she's not in real distress. She's just having a little fit. But this is real, and we need to work within the reality that we're each in and reduce stress as much as possible and be honest about it. You know, my dog is upset. It's a little bit uncomfortable for me right now because I'm with you and I'm giving you my full attention. But this is what life is like with a child too. We never really know what's going to happen at any given time. And so using management strategies like baby gates or pens or crates or managing spaces is probably the most important thing that parents need to do, because literally, you know, one mom to another, you can't even get up and pee by yourself ever again. You have the dog and kids. I'm serious.
Oh my, it's the truth. They know where we are at all times. All times.
You can't leave them alone together. You just can't do it. It's not safe. And so we need to really just, if we have barriers in place, that gives us so much more freedom and flexibility to breathe, you know. It's for cooking, for laundry, all the things. We don't have eyes on the back of our head. I wish we could figure that out, but we haven't figured that out yet.
I love your whole idea of, well, and this is what everybody's craving today. I think authenticity. I know. It's real life. It's real life. But being authentic, being honest, being true, it's no problem, Michelle. I love it. But let me know, before we leave you, is there anything else that you want our audience to know? I know we want to stay on top of what's going on with you. So if you want to share, you know, social media, how folks can find you, let us know.
I would love to. Okay. So if anybody who's watching is pregnant or is adopting a baby, I have a free boot camp coming up, and I know that we can link to it, and I will of course link to it in the comments, but I have a free pre-baby boot camp on preventing dog jealousy. And it's, like I said, it's totally free, and I'm really excited. It's going to be between 6 and 10 days with me, with live Q&As and actual teaching, which is going to be super fun. You can also find me at Pooch Parenting on Instagram and Facebook. I'm very responsive. I also have a podcast called the Pooch Parenting Podcast, and it's one of the only podcasts out there for parents with dogs.
Love it. Love it. And I love your heart for giving back, offering these free courses and opportunities. And Michelle Stern of Pooch Parenting, you are a pleasure and a joy. And I want you to go hug your dog for us. Will you do that right now?
I'm going to go let her out of her crate right now. I apologize.
Okay, you do that. No problem.
Okay,
you are awesome, Michelle. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching this Dog Mom News clip. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more awesome and informative Dog Mom News content. And while you're at it, ring the bell so that you can find out about more content in real time. And be sure to join us Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our live show. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, everyone.